What's the most brutal punishment ever recorded in the Bible? You might think crucifixion, stoning, or being thrown to lions, but there's one punishment so horrifying, so unimaginably cruel, that it stands alone in its savagery. This is the story of a punishment that lasted for generations. We're talking about the punishment of the Amalekites in 1 Samuel 15. But this wasn't just any battle or conquest. This was divinely ordered annihilation. Every man, woman, child, and even the livestock were to be completely destroyed. King Saul received a direct command from God through the prophet Samuel: destroy the Amalekites utterly. The Hebrew word used here is harem, which means complete devotion to destruction. Nothing was to survive. Here's what makes this the most brutal punishment in Scripture. First, the scope was absolute. This wasn't execution of criminals or warriors. The command included infants, children, elderly people who had nothing to do with any crime. Even the animals, oxen, sheep, camels, and donkeys were to be killed. Second, it was premeditated and systematic. This wasn't the heat of battle or collateral damage. This was calculated, ordered elimination of an entire people group. Third, the historical context makes it darker. The Amalekites were being punished for attacking the Israelites hundreds of years earlier when they were fleeing Egypt. Generations of Amalekites who had nothing to do with that original attack were now sentenced to death. When Saul carried out the attack, he actually showed mercy. He spared King Agag and kept the best livestock alive. You'd think this would be seen as compassion, right? Wrong. Saul was condemned for not being brutal enough. The prophet Samuel himself had to hack King Agag to pieces to complete the punishment. The text says Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord. This wasn't a quick execution. The language suggests a violent, drawn-out killing. This punishment raises questions that theologians have wrestled with for millennia. How do we reconcile divine love with divine commands for total annihilation? How do we understand justice that falls on the innocent along with the guilty? Some scholars argue this represents the ancient understanding of collective guilt, that entire societies bore responsibility for their actions. Others see it as a reflection of the brutal reality of ancient Near Eastern warfare, where annihilation was the ultimate punishment. But regardless of interpretation, one thing is undeniable. The punishment of the Amalekites stands as the most comprehensive, most brutal judgment recorded in biblical text. It wasn't just death, it was erasure, complete and total obliteration of an entire people. The story of the Amalekites reminds us that the Bible doesn't shy away from the darkest aspects of human history and divine judgment. It presents them unflinchingly, leaving us to grapple with difficult questions about justice, mercy, and the nature of punishment itself. Whether you view this as literal history, allegory, or ancient theological reflection, the brutality remains, and so do the questions it forces us to confront.